Chazon Ish says, if a person lacks knowledge of the law, what does he have then? Just as it is impossible to observe Shabbat without knowing the halachot, it's impossible to refrain from eating forbidden foods without knowing what's permitted and what is forbidden. It's also impossible to avoid robbing and stealing without learning the halachot that pertain to the relationship between man and man. And there is no doubt that a person who has not learned them, has not made an effort to clarify them, is liable to be stealing and robbing with every step he takes without knowing it. What good are his perfect traits with which he so prides himself because of his learning of Mussar when his hands are soiled with constant larceny and daily stealing? Rabotai, we're going to go over a few halachot so you understand what it means to know, what it means not to know. What it means to know, what it means not to know. Now, the organization that decided to keep this Christian missionary a secret, are they following rabbis? In my opinion, it's not possible. Why? Any real Talmid Chacham would not take this danger. Why? Because the reality is, even if you say that keeping this guy out on the loose, pretending to be a rabbi, making all types of videos, writing all types of articles, and mezuzot, and tefillin, and doing chupot, and kiddushin, and all types of things. Now, you have this guy on the loose. There's no knowing of how much damage he can cause, because even if he is the worst missionary in history, he can at least fool one young man or one young woman and lead them to idolatry. Now, even if you tell me, yeah, but if we leave him out there, he is going to lead us over the next 10 years to catch 1,000 more like him. And therefore, we're going to stop all of them. No, you're not. Even if you catch all 1,000 of them, not in a year, in a day, guess what? The next day, Bibi Netanyahu and his friends are going to let another couple of planes full of missionaries enter the land to replace the 1,000 with 10,000. Why? Because that's what they did and that's what they do. They're in partnerships with them. The Christians own half the country at this point already. People think that you're able to do whatever you want and you're going to have a religious exclusion of no chance in the world. No chance in the world. You letting him out on the loose inside the Jewish community, you put the Jewish community in danger. And you say, no, but we thought it makes sense because that's what the FBI does. That's what the feds do. That's what all of the police forces do. Well, let's see. Do we learn halacha from the police force, from the FBI? Do we learn it from the Navy SEALs? Do we learn it from all of the different secret M6 or MI or whatever, the James Bond movies? Do we learn halacha from them? Let's see. A question came to Rav Zilberstein, asking him the following. He says, Kvod Harav, I went to do some business in Jordan. And when I was in Jordan, I took some Jordanian money out of my pocket. And as you would have it, one of the big bills that I had flew out of my hand and started flying away. So I started chasing the bill. And as soon as it landed on the ground, I stood at this wind. And within a second, I decided to step on it. Why? To stop the bill. And as soon as I stepped on it, I'm about to get it, a police officer runs after me, goes, you just made a great violation. I'm fining you $1,000 of Jordanian money. I said to him, I'm sorry, police officer. What did I do? The police officer got angry at him and said, you even dare not even admit to your crime? He says, no, I honestly don't know what I did. Apparently, this Jordanian officer had a little bit of, apparently, it seems like it at least, that he had a little bit of mercy in him. He said, oh, well, you really does seem like you don't know what you're talking about. You're not from here, are you? He goes, no, I'm just visiting for a couple of days to do some business. He said, listen, since you're not from here, I'm going to tell you. The king of Jordan instituted a law that since his face is on the bill, anyone that steps on a bill is a minimum fine of $1,000. But that's only for a first offense. If it was your second, you can go and get prison sentence for life. But since it's your first time and you didn't know, I'm only going to fine you $1,000. So the guy paid the fine. Saleh Shalom, went back to Eretz Yisrael. Okay. As you would have it, one day he completes his Daf Yomi shiur, he learns with his Rebbe and so on and so forth, and he takes a printout of the Daf Yomi, walks around to learn it a little bit while he's on the way to work, committed to learning Torah, Baruch Hashem. As you would have it, the wind comes and, oh, what happened? The Daf, the page, flies out of his hand and he has to go chasing it. He chases it, and he's about, it goes on the floor. He wants to step on it, but hold on a second. He stops himself in the air. Hold on a second. If the king of flesh of blood of Jordan, nonetheless, demands such respect that we're not allowed to put our foot on his face on the bill, needless to say that the king of kings probably demands us not to step on his Gemara, on his Torah. There's no honor. Yeah, but what if the daf is going to fly away? The page is going to fly away, go into a sewer or something? Yeah, but it's going to be... If I step on it, I'm desecrating Hashem's name, he says. If I don't step on it, it's going to go into the sewer. So what do I do? He brings this question to Rav Zilberstein. He asks him, did I desecrate Hashem's name or not? By stepping on the page. Rav Zilberstein says to him, he says, you know what? If we were to learn our laws from the Jordanian government, then you would be right. You would be right. You would be desecrating Hashem's name by stepping on the Gemara. You'd be desecrating Hashem's name. Why? Because just like the king of Jordan said, don't step on the bill because you're desecrating his face and his name. You stepping on the Gemara is desecrating Hashem's name. But Baruch Hashem, we don't learn our laws from the Jordanian government, just like we don't learn from the FBI or the IRS or the MI6 or the Hamas or Daesh or any of these other places. We don't learn laws from them. Where do we learn from? We learn it from the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch. And the Gemara tells us this. If somebody is riding on a donkey and he has a Sefer Torah with him, in those days it was very common for people to have Sifrei Torah scrolls with them. And he sees that he's coming up to a place where there's going to be a lot of different non-Jews over there that could very well attack him. Or he's at a place that's dangerous, could be bandits. And there's a risk that if they attack him, they're going to take everything, including the Sefer Torah. What does he do? If they take it, they'll desecrate the Sefer Torah. But how do you hide it? Only way to hide it is to sit on top of it. But if I sit on top of it, I'm sitting on Hashem's name. The Gemara paskins. The Torah, the Shulchan Aruch paskins. The Gemara says, Shulchan Aruch paskins, sit on the Sefer Torah to hide it, because it's better that you protect the Torah in this form of desecration, if you will. It's not allowed otherwise. It's better that you protect the Torah this way than it be desecrated much worse by being in control of idol worshippers and all types of Gentiles and so on. So it's not a desecration of his name. You're simply protecting the Torah. Such as this. If you didn't step on a Daf Gemara, then it would land in a place of desecration, in a sewer or somebody else that would desecrate and so on. That's much worse than you putting your foot on it for a few seconds. Therefore, our Torah teaches us, you step on it. You step on it. We don't learn laws from the Jordanian government. We don't learn laws from the FBI. We don't learn laws from the Israeli special forces. We don't learn laws from them. We learn laws from the Torah, Rabbatai. And if you don't know the law, you're not going to know where to go and how to go. You're not going to know where to go and how to go. This is one simple example. The Chazon Ish says that a person who does not learn the laws is not going to love them. He's not going to love them, and that's going to cause a lot of harm. In last week's Parashat Achrei Mot, we have an interesting section where the Torah tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, do not become, in chapter 18, verse 24, do not become contaminated through any of these, all of these immorality crimes that he talked about, homosexuality, incest, lesbianism, which is in the name of being the practice of the Egyptians, is referring to lesbianism, all types of wasting seed, all types of filthy things. Do not be contaminated through any of these. For through all of these, the nations that I expel before you became contaminated. The land became contaminated, and I recalled its iniquity upon it, and the land vomited its inhabitants. V'takia haaretz et yoshvea. Comes the Ador Zkenim, one of the Baalei Tosfot, who says the following: don't think that Hashem is mentioning that the land vomited the goyim that were there, that were doing all of these horrific sex crimes. Don't think for a second that the land will vomit you like it vomited them. Because if you sin, you Jewish people sin, your vomiting would be much, much worse. Because they sinned, they left. They left. But when you sin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will punish you much worse. What does it mean HaKadosh Baruch Hu will punish you much worse? Comes the Radak. The Radak on the Pasuk in Jeremiah chapter 16 verse 18 says that because lesbianism is forbidden logically, and all of these different filthy crimes are forbidden logically, HaKadosh Baruch Hu kicked the nations out, even though they weren't commanded to do certain things. But it's logic that a woman should not be with a woman and a man should not be with a man. It's logic. So Hashem kicked them out of the land. And who did he kick out? The people of Sodom. People of Sodom kicked them out. Hold on a second. What does it mean kicked them out? Vomited them out? Last I remember, Avraham Avinu lived at the time of Sodom, asked Hashem if he could let them live, and what happened? Hashem said, if there's enough righteous people there, but there wasn't. Only person that he saved was Lot and his 2 daughters. And the rest of the people left? No. Hashem destroyed every single one of them. The Radak says that vomiting the people out was destroying the people of Sodom. That's what it means. And Rabbeinu Bechaye, on Parashat Vayera, in Sefer Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 19, verse 29, says that, therefore the punishment for the Jews, this is what it means, that the punishment for the Jews is worse than the punishment for the non-Jews, because while he vomited the non-Jews, in essence, destroyed them, destroyed the generation of Sodom, destroyed everybody over there, the punishment for the Jews is even worse. How could it be worse than death? Simple. Holocaust. Holocaust is much worse than death. Holocaust is much worse than death. And that is, Rabotai, for us not following the law and not falling in love with the law. Now, as much as we may not like this, let's see what else does this law say. We have instructions from the Chazon Ish. He says that if we don't learn the halachot, we're not going to know how to keep Shabbat. We're not going to know how to keep Shabbat, Rabotai. So what happens if we don't know how to keep Shabbat? What happens if we drive on Shabbat to Bet Knesset, like so many people do in so many American communities and otherwise? They drive to their Orthodox Bet Knesset. We're not talking about Reform and Conservative that are Bechlal, completely out of left field. We're talking about people drive to a Chabad. People drive to a Boca Raton synagogue. People drive to different Orthodox synagogues, not feeling any remorse, not feeling bad at all. They figure, listen, I'm far. The rabbi, I have to drive, or I'm not going to go to shul. And the rabbi never told me anything. In fact, he makes room for me in parking. So what happens if we do such a thing? What happens if we do such a thing, Rabotai? The Gemara Masechet Eruvin says that on the pasuk where Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us to bring the bakar behema as a korban. The Gemara in Masechet Eruvin, page 69b, says Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling us that we take this cow, as a korban, as a sacrifice. So Chachamim ask, why are you saying the same thing twice? Bakar and behema is the same thing. Synonymous. So the Gemara says, no. The bakar is referring to the animal. The behema, the animal, it's referring to the person. A person is being referred to as an animal? Yes. What kind of person is referred to as an animal? Here, the Torah is teaching you, even if the guy is acting like a behema, he's acting like an animal and making all of these sex crimes, we still accept his sacrifice. We still accept his sacrifice. Because, although he's acting like an animal, he's still considered part of our nation. When is he excluded out of a part of our nation? The Gemara says, if he serves idols, if he desecrates Shabbat, or if he's a heretic. Then he is not considered as part of our nation. So here we see, Rabotai, that if a person does not know how to keep Shabbat, and he drives on Shabbat, or he desecrates Shabbat by using all types of technology and so on, in so many words, he is considered worse than an animal in the eyes of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Worse than an animal. Now, a person may not think of this as being worse than an animal, because he says, listen, I don't desecrate Shabbat. I keep Shabbat. I don't worship an idol. I worship Hashem my own way. Okay. What about the sages? Do you listen to Gdolei Ador? When Rav Ovadia paskins something and you're Sephardic, do you follow? When the Chafetz Chaim paskins something, do you follow? When the Gaon Mivilna said something, you follow? Or you say, nah, they don't know what they're talking about. When Rabbi Akiva said something, you follow? Listen, I follow whatever makes sense to me. You follow what makes sense to you. Okay, let's see. Orach Chaim HaKadosh, Pri Toar, Yoreh De'ah, Siman 119, it's commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, which we'll read in a moment. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says the following. What is the Shulchan Aruch referring to when it says a person who doesn't behave? Doesn't follow the sages. What does it mean? It means, the Orach Chaim says, his judgment, a person that doesn't follow the Chachamim, his judgment is 100% like an idol worshipper and a Mechalel Shabbat. And his wine, if he touches the wine and he pours it, is considered yain nesech, meaning the wine of idolatry. You're not allowed to use it. And he is not believed on anything regarding Torah. Anything he says, you're not allowed to believe him. He says this is kosher food, not allowed to believe him. He says, the rabbi said this, not allowed to believe him. He's a witness in a Jewish ceremony, not allowed to take that witness testimony. That Jewish ceremony is null and void if he's the only witness. If he has one of two witnesses in a chuppah, the chuppah is not valid. Why? He goes against the Chachamim. He's an apikoros. He's not believed in anything regarding Torah. And about this, I used to cry out, the Orach Chaim says. And about this, I used to cry out about a few among us, a few among our people that lived in the places of Edom, meaning in Europe, who told me, after I spoke to them several times, literally, that they don't believe in what the sages say unless it's logical to them. And they told me in privacy that the entire city believes the same way as them. only in logical words of the sages. And now they are all considered the same as Gentile idol worshippers and are not to be considered as part of a minyan, which is the 10 kosher people you need to take out the Sefer Torah and so on, or to be considered part of a zimun. When you do Birkat HaMazon, you have either 3 or 10 people that you do a special blessing for. You can't count such people in a zimun. Can't count such people in a zimun. The Zivchei Tzedek, which is a Rav Abdallah Somech, who's the rabbi of the Ben Ish Chai, in the same place, commentary on Yoreh De'ah 119, Seif Katan 29, says that all these reform people, conservative is the same, are not to be believed in any aspect of Torah regarding what's allowed and what's forbidden. Anything that they tell you in regards to Torah, you're not allowed to believe them. Not allowed to believe them. Now, they're all commenting on the Shulchan Aruch. They're all commenting on what was paskin in the Shulchan Aruch. But what was paskin in the Shulchan Aruch? Let's read the Shulchan Aruch. Let's read the Shulchan Aruch. What does the Shulchan Aruch itself say? Maybe the sages are extreme. Maybe, let's see. Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh De'ah 119. 119:7. One who publicly desecrates the Torah, transgresses the Torah, except for idol worship or Shabbat desecration, or someone who does not believe the words of the sages, is believed in regards to other prohibitions. And regarding others, he is believed, even on that same issue, to say that they're permitted. In so many words, if someone, let's say for example, his wife doesn't keep Taharat Mishpacha, or perhaps he looks inappropriately at women, or perhaps he steals, or perhaps he is a pedophile. Okay? Horrible. If it's a question in regards to that particular issue that he answers, not allowed to believe him. But if you ask him, what time does Shabbat come in, or what is the halacha here on Shabbat, and he happens to know, you're allowed to believe him. When do you not believe him? If he desecrates Shabbat, if he's a idol worshiper, or if he does not believe the words of the sages. Why? Someone who does not believe the words of the sages, or does not keep Shabbat, or is an idol worshiper, he is desecrating the entire Torah, and he's not allowed to be believed in anything. Meaning, you're not allowed to eat his food, even if he tells you it's kosher. Not allowed to believe him. You're not allowed to believe anything it has to do with Torah. Nothing. Now, few people, I've said some of these things in the past. Surely some people listened, and unfortunately some people didn't listen. But of course, we always have a story. And a story came up from a dear student a few days ago, who said to me, I can't believe what happened to me, I need you to help me. I said, what happened and what did you do? This is a Baal Tshuva, this is a person that has been taking this thing seriously, but flipped. Something messed up. What happened? He said, listen, I got invited for Shabbat by a family. Okay, but they don't keep Shabbat. Ooh, what does the Halacha say? The Halacha says they don't keep Shabbat. Not allowed to eat there. Not allowed to eat there. Why? But he kept, bought everything kosher. Doesn't make a difference. So I know they don't keep Shabbat, but they told me they already prepared these people who don't keep Shabbat. He said, listen, don't worry. Everything we got is catered kosher food. So I said, so this can't be, it doesn't matter whether they keep Shabbat or they don't keep Shabbat, because they're getting catered kosher food. So I went for Shabbat. I went for Shabbat to the family member, and we ate, and we drank, and ha ha ha, and hoo hoo hoo, and hee hee hee, and all those goody things, right? You have to go home at some point. Goes home later that night, vomits his life out, because the food wasn't exactly agreeing with his stomach. And he vomited so much and he got so sick that after Shabbat, he wanted to look up, where did they get this food? Why does food make me so sick? And he looked up and he tells me these are his words. I looked up the restaurant and the only thing that's kosher about it is that they have kosher in its name. Nothing else is kosher. They work on Shabbat. He said it's very possible even the meat wasn't kosher. Surely the meat is not kosher. But nonetheless, Rabotai Yekarim, did the host intend to feed him non-kosher food? Probably not. But the Torah says it doesn't make a difference if you intend to or you don't intend to. If the person does not keep Shabbat, he is not to be trusted. Why? If he doesn't care about his own neshama enough to keep Shabbat, surely he doesn't care about your neshama to double check that the food that he ordered that was catered kosher is really kosher. Simple. He's not going to check that the vegetables were washed the right way to remove all of the worms and flies and other bugs that like to live inside vegetables. He's not going to check. His wife is not going to go through the rice and soap and all types of nice procedure to clean the rice 3-4 times before she gives you the rice. Why? Because listen, it's white, it's good, yalla, eat. I cleaned it once, I washed it once, it's enough. And you're eating rice, but you should say, shakol, not mezonot. Why? The mezonot is perhaps it should be on the rice. But in reality, you're eating bugs, shakol on the bugs. Why? Because the rice will have bugs. That's what happens, Rabotai. When somebody doesn't care about the halacha, he's not going to double check the vegetables. He's not going to double check the rice. He's not going to double check the beans. He's not going to double check any of the food. He's not going to double check. She's not going to double check. And that's why the Torah says that someone that desecrates Shabbat, you're not allowed to believe him in anything when it comes to Torah. You're not allowed to eat by him, even if he says the food is kosher. Even if he shows you, look, I'm not putting milk and meat together. Look, the receipt on the meat says kosher. Not allowed to eat it. Why? That's the halacha. That's the halacha. That's the halacha. You want to fight? Fight with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Fight with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the halacha.